Wait, you're telling me there's only 4 steps to transforming your life?
You got it.
Hey there, my friends. I'm Super Sid, the business shaman, and this is
Tiffany Toombs, the NLP queen.
And this is the Life Coach Launch School Show.
So, because the things that keep us stuck from achieving our goals, creating the life that we want, having the freedom and fulfillment that we want, feels so big, because the trauma and the emotional baggage and the limiting beliefs and that voice in our head that tells us that we're not good enough feels so powerful and so heavy. People think that the healing journey and the transformation journey has to be complicated, but it's really actually simple, and it requires consistency in 4 main areas.
Yeah, I know when you got me started with my healing journey, I was, I think the initial thought was, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever. And then you start hearing, oh my gosh, it's going to take even longer than forever. So I think this idea of like, what am I looking to get to, and exactly what does transforming my life, or what exactly does a new reality actually mean, and how can we use these? Well, first of all, what are these 4 steps? And exactly what is this method that you're talking about in regards to 4 steps to being able to not only go through a self-healing journey, but ultimately go through a life transformation?
So after working with thousands of people across the world and having the honor of having a front row seat to thousands of transformations, there are really 4 main steps that I have come to see that everybody needs to go through if they truly want their transformation to be complete. You may have already been doing 1 or 2 of these steps, and that's a great starting place. Wherever you've started is absolutely fine. What we want to make sure is that at some point in your journey, you're doing all 4 of these steps for your transformation to be lifelong and to be fully complete. Because if you don't do all 4 steps, then you might find that you slowly slide back to your old patterns and behaviors, your old reality, or you might find that you just get stuck at a different level and you're still not quite where you want to be.
So, let's tell everybody, what is step 1 of stepping into your life transformation and a new reality?
Yeah, so I actually created the acronym RISE to help us remember the 4 steps. So I'll share them with you real quick, and then we can break them down further. So the R stands for recalibrate the nervous system and reprogram the limiting beliefs. The I stands for inner child work and inner child resourcing. The S stands for shift the identity, and the E is expand our limits.
Okay, so those are the 4 steps. Maybe for some people, they maybe heard some of that and they're like, I really don't know what that is. So let's start with step 1. Let's start from the beginning. Anybody that's wanting to transform their life, anybody who's wanting to become empowered, anybody who is wanting to start that journey, that self-healing journey of just feeling better on a day-to-day basis, let's start there. You talked about reprogramming your mind, reprogramming limiting beliefs. Maybe dig a little bit deeper into that, and that ultimately, is someone wanting to achieve in this first step to be able to continue that journey and rise right toward a life transformation?
So the R really has 2 parts to it. There's the recalibrate the nervous system and the reprogram the limiting beliefs. Now, I have found that the people who start with recalibrating the nervous system, the rest of their journey is far easier than if they just get to that later. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be challenges that come up. That doesn't mean there's not going to be emotions and things that come up for you. But it's not going to be as intense or as hard. You're not going to have to battle yourself as much if you do the nervous system healing first. Now, we do have a free 7-day nervous system healing routine that you can get, our 7-day nervous system reset. All you have to do is go to the link in the description or go to resetmysystem.com/reset. It's absolutely free, our gift to you. So what is recalibrating the nervous system? Most people have a nervous system that is stuck in survival mode, which basically means your body feels like it's running away from a bear or whatever other life-threatening situation you can think of. It's running away from or preparing to fight that life-threatening situation 24/7. You'll know that you're in survival mode if you constantly have intrusive thoughts or worst case scenario thinking. So if you're always thinking about what could possibly go wrong or the worst possible case scenario that could happen in any situation, it's likely your nervous system is in survival mode. If you find yourself completely exhausted all the time, except after a coffee or a workout, you're in survival mode. If you have trouble sleeping at night, whether that's going to sleep because you have the monkey mind spinning, if it's you wake up in the middle of the night, or you just cannot go to sleep, it's likely that your nervous system is in survival mode. If you put on weight and you just cannot get it off, or you've had unexplained weight loss without trying, survival mode. Okay, so these are just some examples. But what we want to do is when you're in survival mode, your body doesn't have the time to heal, because if a bear's chasing you, you're not going to sit down and be like, now is the time to feel my emotions. No, now the time is to get the hell out of Dodge. And
You're saying that survival mode is actually basically survival mode is tied to human behavior.
Yeah.
So it can be the output, or what happens based on that human behavior can be a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but ultimately the human behavior is the same in regards to survival mode. You just almost give up on it.
not necessarily giving up on yourself, but you don't have time. The only thing you're thinking about is, how do I survive right now? How do I live through this day? How do I live through this month? And this, in modern society, looks like, okay, well, how do I pay my bills this week? How do I feed my family this week? How do I make sure there's a roof over our head this month? There's no long-term planning. There's no creative thinking. Your problem-solving abilities are greatly reduced because all you're thinking about is the immediate problem that you need to solve. And so it becomes a lot more challenging to then start to do the inner work, like reprogramming the mind and the other steps, because you're just focused on surviving the moment.
All right, so we talked about recalibrating the nervous system, but I also know that you talk a lot about recalibrating something else when it comes to the R and rise and someone beginning their life transformation. What else do they recalibrate?
So we need to recalibrate or reprogram the limiting beliefs that we have. So the average person has 60% or more of their beliefs that limit them or hold them back in some way. Now, this can be beliefs about yourself. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. People won't like me. It could be beliefs about money. Money is evil. If I have money, people will judge me negatively. People won't like me, blah, blah, blah. Or it could be beliefs about other people. I can't trust other people because they'll hurt me. People will betray me. People will humiliate me, etc., etc. So we have to figure out what those belief systems are that are holding you back. Think of them like the weeds in the garden of your mind. And then we need to go in and start to systematically weed the garden.
All right, so we talked about R, and a lot of this is recalibration. So recalibration meaning that we're looking at where we currently are, we're looking to readjust it and clear out all the stuff that's currently, maybe the baggage that we currently have or the stuff that's holding us back. But isn't it true that actually a lot of these challenges that a lot of people have don't start in the modern day, don't start recently, they actually started a long time ago?
Yeah, so 95% of people, their limiting beliefs, their limiting patterns, their limiting identities, those were all planted in the mind between the ages of 0 and 7. And what newer research is showing us is that we have the ability to start taking on limiting beliefs and emotions from our mom from the moment of conception, and we can carry forward limiting beliefs and negative emotions and things like that from our ancestors through our DNA. So this inner child work is about going back to the 2-year-old you that first felt anger because they didn't get the toy that they wanted, and so they had this big temper tantrum, which now plays out as, you getting in a fight with your partner or road rage, things like that. So it's about going back and giving that inner child the love, the compassion, the care, the understanding that they needed, allowing them to feel those emotions, and then giving them the resources like confidence or a voice to ask for what they need, giving them what they needed so that they can essentially grow up. Because what happens is when we have these big emotions at a young age and nobody helps us deal with them, right? And most of us didn't. I know when I had a big emotion, I got sent to my room.
Yep.
What happened for you?
Room or spanking, or just pointed at and told that I was wrong and that I needed to trust everybody else, or this was the big one, let's just hug it out and be realistic.
Yeah, and so
I hate that word.
most of us never really learned how to deal with our emotions. And to be totally fair, it's not our parents' fault because they didn't learn either. But what we know is that when we feel these big emotions at a young age, part of our psyche, part of our mentality gets stuck at that age. So the reason that we have some of the issues that we do in today's world is because we have all of these grown adults who are being hijacked by their inner children, that 2-year-old's taking over, attempting to deal with an adult negotiation, but they don't have the tools to do that. And so if we truly want to get unstuck, we have to allow those inner children to have the voice that they need to take their power back so that they can grow up and we can move forward.
Now, you know, the cool part is the first part of this RISE method is all about clearing out, you know, I guess for some people they say clearing out the baggage and clearing out all of it. And I think one of the first things that I understood was this idea of place and time, right? Just because I'm in this place and time, or this reality is what it's kind of formed into, doesn't mean that there wasn't past realities that caused this one. To me, that has a lot to do with manifestation, a lot to do with law of attraction, which we talk a lot about here on this channel. But now that we've cleared all this stuff out, really there's now the beginning of building the new. And in my self-healing journey, this was a part where I kind of had always gotten to, I need to clear out all the bad, but really when it came to the second half of my healing journey, my transformation, really excelling and accelerating to a new level, I had to take part in this next step, which is shifting the identity.
So one of my favorite quotes ever is from Albert Einstein, and he says that we can't solve a problem with the same level of thinking that created it. And this is true for our identity. Oftentimes people will attempt to create their future thinking and feeling the way that they do now. So they'll say, I don't really feel like filming this video today, Sid. Right? And so they just won't film it. And then we don't have content to go out on the YouTube channel, and we're not providing you guys with value and with resources to change your life. Or I don't feel like making this call. I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like cooking dinner. And they're basing the actions that they take based on how they feel now. Well, your current identity and every aspect of your brain is just a reflection of where you've been. And so if you continue to play out where you've been, you're going to get what you have right now. So what we need to do is we need to start thinking at the level of our future self who has already achieved the goals that we have. And I like to personally name my identity. So right now, I have very detailed what my 7-figure self looks like. I call her 7-figure Tiffany. Sid made a comment to me this morning about how I did my hair and I did my makeup and everything for this video, and I said, well, that's what 7-figure Tiffany does. She gets up and she does her hair and makeup before she goes on video, before she goes on calls, so that she feels better. Because I'm a firm believer that when you look good, you feel good.
Wait a minute. Just because I wasn't in the bathroom for 30 minutes before we started filming doesn't mean that I don't think that I look beautiful. Don't you think not bad, right? I just gotta slick my hair back, throw the hat on, I'm good.
As long as you right now are aligned with your future self, that's all that matters. And so when there are days where I'm like, I really don't want to go and work out today, or I would just love to sleep in, then my 7-figure self kicks in and says, no, that's not what we do. And so, or even times when I feel guilty for taking a day off to spend time with my son, it's like, no, that's not what we do. We created this business so that we can have that time. So who is your future self, and what do you need to start doing and thinking and believing to align with them?
So really to kind of add in my perspective, this one was a massive journey for me, and one that I figured out step by step. And a big thing that I really looked at when I was looking at shifting my identity was 2 things. One, understanding that there was always an anchor or a point that was kind of like my North Star. I had to find a North Star that I could always come back to. When we're shifting our identities, one of the big things that came up for me a lot was imposter syndrome, because I'm changing who I believe and the makeup that I thought I was. So things that would come up would be like things that I would hear from the past, that people would, the expectations or, the potential that I might have, right, going in one direction. But when I'm shifting my identities, I'm really choosing me, and for my journey, this was the first time that I chose me. So when this happened, don't be surprised if things are going to come up, but just remember to always have that North Star, and to remember that we are honestly looking for consistent improvement each and every day. And a lot of times we can do that with just getting 1% better every single day. All right, so we've done a lot. I think we've done a lot when it comes to, we've gotten rid of the old. Now we began to walk into a new identity, like a new person, which really sets us up for, I think, what a lot of people who go through this journey want to do. And that's really going through and expanding how we now feel and who we now believe, so that we can go out there and impact and change and help other people start this life transformational journey and this self-healing journey. Talk a little bit about that, Steph.
Yeah, so the last step is expand your limitations. Now, unfortunately, this is where a lot of the personal development industry will tell you to start, right? Just change your thinking, just push yourself out of your comfort zone. And while the middle part of RISE, the reprogramming the limiting beliefs, the inner child work, the shifting your identity, might not always happen in those direct steps. They might be jumbled together a little bit. I definitely believe we need to start with the recalibrating the nervous system, and if we try to push towards expanding our limitations too quickly, the other pieces are going to lead us to self-sabotage. And that's why so many people actually end up in self-sabotage, is they're trying to skip to the good part, right? They're trying to get to the part where they can expand their limitations, create that future that they want. You get comfortable being uncomfortable, which you're gonna have to do through the whole entire process, but they just want the new, they want the shiny thing, they want the goal, but they haven't done the inner work, so they don't have the belief systems to align with that goal, they don't have the identity to align that goal, and so then they end up in self-sabotage. So when we get to expand your limitations, it's about growing ourselves so that less and less things make us feel uncomfortable, right? So for somebody like me, I have lived in 3 different countries in the last 6 years. I've lived in 3 different states in the last 12 months.
12 months? It's been like 8 months, girl.
So I make change very, very quickly, but it wasn't always that way. I used to struggle a lot with any sort of change, going from high school to college, and I literally went from like a small town 30 minutes outside of the city to living in the city. That was a massive change for me that I really struggled with. But I had to just consistently take these little baby steps where now my comfort zone is massive and it takes quite a bit to get me out of it. So when you are starting the E portion of the journey, the expanding your limitations, what you need to do is you need to start small. If you go too big too fast, your body will rebel against you. Remember, we can only go as far as what our nervous system is capable of handling. So for some people that might mean 1 change a week, it might mean 1 change a month, it might mean 1 change every quarter. It doesn't matter as long as we're being consistent in taking steps forward. Like they say in Any Given Sunday, just add up the inches, right? Adding up the inches is what's going to get you to win.
You know, I think it's interesting that you say that, because we talked about getting 1% better every day. And I think like when we look at the inches, like just think of every single day as an opportunity to expand that much further. And when we're looking at the inches or looking at the 1%, a lot of that time is you doing something that you haven't done before. And half of that is doing something you haven't done before and being okay to embrace sucking at it so that you can use it as a baseline to get better and better, which, you know, believe me when I tell you, because I've been through this, you know, people are watching you get better and better, and that belief in themselves is beginning to happen. So we talked about 4 steps here on this video today. Do you want to give them a summary of what that is? We call this RISE, and what exactly does RISE stand for? And let's break it down back into 4 steps for those watching this summary.
Yeah, so if you truly want to rise to creating the reality that you want, we have to start with recalibrating the nervous system. From there, we can reprogram the limiting beliefs, do the inner child work, and shift our identity. Again, those can come jumbled together or in any steps. And then lastly, we finish with expanding our limitations.
So to get started with this process, we have something called the 7-day nervous system reset. It is there to help you with the R and begin the process of recalibrating the nervous system. You want to tell everybody what's in that?
Yeah, so it is 7 different exercises. You're going to unlock 1 new exercise a day because, again, we don't want to overwhelm your nervous system while we're healing it. And these exercises are going to be a combination of exercises to do daily to start to heal your nervous system and pull you out of survival mode, and then exercises you can do in the moment when you feel overwhelm, anxiety, any of those other big emotions rising up to pull you back to the present moment. So all you have to do to get the 7-day nervous system reset is click the link in the description or go to resetmysystem.com/reset.
And we'll be there waiting for you, ready to start recalibrating your nervous system and ultimately taking the first steps to rising into a new reality. I'm Super Sid, the business shaman. This is Tiffany Toombs, the NLP queen. This is the Life Coach Launch School show. We'll see you on the next video.